Christian? 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 Oh. He's usually here by now. What is up, Watch fam? It is Michael from Theo and Harris, aka Harris from Christian and Michael, and today Christian's not here. He quit, actually, which is an awkward thing. He runs his own company, so I don't really know what that means for my job, but I'm still just kind of on autopilot. But today we're talking about watch news, as always, just without the man that's usually to my left, and we will be talking about three things. The main thing being Tudor and them making a watch that I really, really like. I think, well, they make a lot of watches I really like, but this new Pelagos, I feel like, is about as close as they've gotten to a really perfect watch. But I'll get into more of that in a little bit, in utilitarian design versus like pandering to a consumer and all that. We're also talking about a really cool JLC and Ming. But before I get into any of that, we also have a watch shop, and I have to photograph a lot of watches today, including what is on my wrist, which is a Tudor snowflake. I thought that was funny to wear, considering we're talking about the Tudor snowflake today. I love this watch. Now I guess I have a pretty robust collection of watches, but I always put an old sub on, whether it be Rolex or Tudor, and I'm like, oh right, that is still the watch that I want to wear the most, because this is maybe TMI. I really like to wear my Apple Watch only because I'm very obsessed that it gives me all this statistical data about my fitness. I really want to wear a watch every day, but I need to watch the rings and stuff because I'm trying to get more in shape, and it's very addicting. But every time I put a Tudor, anytime I put an old sub case on or a really nice Datejust, like a vintage Datejust or something, I'm like, oh, maybe I should put the Apple Watch to bed. But yeah, so we do have a watch shop. Right now, there are a ton of watches in there for the holiday season. There's a bunch of Rolex dates, this 1500 Darth. There's, of course, the Rolex Tiffany sub, which is pretty penny, but a pretty watch as well. I have a brand new, well, not brand new, a vintage Cartier Santos with a guilloche dial, bunch of stuff I need to photograph, and of course this is a watch case called the Coronado, and it's absolutely stunning. The outside, I believe, is calf, and the inside actually is suede goat. So very nice strap, all on theoandharris.com. Definitely check them out, them being me. And while you're there, check out the strap shop as well. We actually make really nice straps. And I'm not saying, or we have people that make really nice straps for us. I'm not saying that because I work here. You know, you ever been in a situation where you're at work and someone's like, so how do you like it here? And you're like, no, it's great. And everybody's like, no, but really, like, you know, off the clock, how do you like it here? And you're like, no, it's great. And you're really trying to explain to people that you actually like your job. That's never happened to me, but you know that feeling? These are really good products. Anyways, though, watch news today. Christian's not here, so I'm going to try and be brief, just because he's usually, I have to focus on what we're supposed to talk about, and Christian drinks and makes offhanded comments. So the balance is thrown off today, because I have to both talk about watches and get drunk, and I don't even drink, so this isn't going to be easy. Anyways, first things first, this isn't breaking news or a story or anything, but JLC has the Rendezvous Celestial, and this is basically, you know, when you see like fashion shows and the designer designed this crazy thing no one really ever wears, but like someone's wearing a couch walking down the runway. It's just kind of showing where the designer's at and like them flexing their muscles and being like, look, I make regular clothes, but deep down, I want to do this. This is what I want to make. This is not that actually at all. This is JLC purely flexing. So these are all hand set gems. These are rainbow sapphires around the outside. Reminds me of a certain rainbow Rolex, which is beautiful. But more importantly, the dial is all hand painted. And these are all Zodiac signs. So I thought that was pretty neat. It's really just a watch that I wanted to show you. The placement of the stars is actually what you can see when you look up outside of JLC headquarters. So that's pretty cool. And if you are outside of JLC headquarters wearing this $101,000 watch, as you stand there and the watch ticks and time moves and the earth rotates, these stars will stay in line with your watch, because the watch is also moving to the exact spin of the earth, which is pretty cool. Moving on though, We're stopping at Ming. We're gonna pull the car over, hop out, and look at Ming real quick. We don't talk about Ming too much on this channel, but Ming kind of reminds me of Apple. If you don't know, Apple, one time they did a collaboration, Johnny Ive and Apple and Leica. Well, Johnny Ive was working at Apple, but they did a collaboration with Leica and very, very Appleified it while Johnny Ive was designing products for Apple, which his methodology was basically remove everything except like one thing or two things, and it's very simple. And you can get to a point of design where you remove everything, where the product is much less functional. That was about Apple. That's not about Ming. But it does look like Johnny Ive had a design hand in this. He didn't, but it just looks like he did, because it's a very minimal, modern, sleek design. And while that doesn't maybe work on like an iPhone or something that has a lot of different things to do, on a watch it works really well. And on this specific watch, the 3705, there is a moon phase, and I can't think of a watch that has a moon phase like this, but it's basically a sliver. Instead of seeing, typically you see the moon, and then as time goes on, the moon goes like this on the dial. This is a circle. I don't really think the readability is that strong, and last time I said, what's the point of a moon phase? A lot of you commented that you actually use yours a lot, so let me know if you think this is, from a utilitarian standpoint, if it's at all functional, but it is pretty. I will say that. I think Ming has beautiful designs. I really like the minimalist layout. It feels very modern. A lot of the comments I read was that Ming designs will be outdated. I don't really necessarily think that they will, because the counterpoint to that is a lot of people also say Ming watches look like Movado watches, which I can definitely see that design inspiration, but the museum watch I think was designed, I'm just doing math, 60 something years ago, and it's in the MoMA. It's beautiful, and I don't think that design is ever going to become any less attractive. So that's kind of the counterpoint that I would say, which another counterpoint, I don't think Movado has a really good iteration of the museum dial watch, like a beautiful movement, solid gold case, simple museum style watch. But even if it didn't sell a ton, I feel like that would kind of lift their name up a little bit in the watch world, and I would love that. But that's not what we're talking about at all. We're talking about this, the 37.05, and I really like it. And specifically, what I like the most is this loom shot from Hodinkee. And loom photographs, if you know how to photograph loom, photographs a lot better than it looks in person, just because it fades or it's not perfectly dark or anything like that. It's not set up for a picture, which a lot of the times you do long exposures for loom, so you get it really looking like there's a light behind it almost. But it really makes me want to have a watch where there's some LED in it behind it that when you tilt your wrist, it like subtly glows. I don't even care if the watch is quartz at that point. There's no seconds hand on this anyway. I just think that'd be really cool and a beautiful design. Like all Ming watches though, this is based off of a Solita movement, so I think Ming gets some flack for that. They certainly get a lot of flack in Hodinkee comments, but it does look like the people in the Hodinkee comments hate almost everything. But I will also say I don't know where all that hate would come from, so if there's anything I'm missing, enlighten me. But I've seen a lot of Mings in person, and I've always really liked them. I photographed a bunch of them, wore a bunch of them, and I really like them. Also, if you know about Ming, you probably know about James, but if you don't, check out Waitlisted on Instagram. He photographs a lot of Ming. He is unapologetically in love with Ming. I met him, and guess what he had with him? Ming. Oh, but interestingly, before we end this point, the one thing I actually don't think I like, which I usually like on every single watch, and I always hope it's there, is it on? Yeah, of course it's on the Snowflake. The date window. I feel like, I don't know if maybe the date window could have been better. I think it would be really cool if they did their date on this watch like the Nomos and kind of copy, well, I guess it wouldn't copy, but still had the same date implementation as they did the Moonface implementation, with that dot in the center just being the rest of the dial. I think that would have been really cool, but it's not that bad or anything like that. Maybe I don't know what they could have done to make it look a little bit better besides that, but this was the first time in a very long time I would rather have no date on that watch. And I don't have any dates in real life either, so it's kind of on theme, I guess. Anyways, moving on. As you are probably aware, because other YouTubers have done videos on it already, Tudor has a new watch. It is a Tudor FDX Marine Nationale watch, which is a military watch, a full-on military watch, supposed to be used by the French military, I believe? French Navy, sorry. Supposed to be used by the French Navy, which, this leads me to a very interesting point, and something I was thinking of, and it was inspired by the Tudor, because I feel like this is the best example of what I will go into in a second. Let me tell you about the watch first. First things first, the movement is the MT5602, one of Tudor's in-house movements with a 70-hour power reserve, robust, reliable. There is no see-through case back. This is a military watch. It is not meant to be, you're not supposed to, in the middle of a military shootout underwater with the dolphins, you're not supposed to show your friend your case back, so they seal it up. But anyways, either way, it's a beautiful watch. It looks great. 42 millimeter case, titanium case itself, and then the case back is steel, and it's beautiful. And I haven't held one in the metal, but I'm assuming it's incredibly light considering it's made out of titanium. 42 millimeters doesn't fit my wrist at all, not even close. So if they did one in 38, which it seems like they come out with their big model first, like the Black Bay was, I think, originally 42, and then they slowly shrink it down as it gets popular to have different models. So hopefully Pelagos gets really popular and then it comes in 38, because this is a weird thing to say only, but it is only $3,900. And that is not expensive in the watch world at all, especially for a watch as highly regarded as Tudor. That's why Tudor's Tudor, because that price is great for that watch. This is where Rolex started a while ago. Obviously with, you know, price changing over time and stuff, Rolex used to go for like $400 or $500 when they first came out, or less than that depending, but with inflation over the years, it goes up a lot. But for someone that likes watches and is getting into the watch world, $3,900 is an incredible value prop. And you only really see that right now in vintage, with some specific vintage models, which are in the shop. But having a modern Tudor with a great in-house movement and a beautiful design for $3,900, it's pretty amazing to come by. But the bigger point I want to get into, which is kind of shown best with the snowflakes, especially on the Hodinkee again, or actually no, sorry, this is SJX. They show a picture of the Tudor 9401/0, which was issued to French Navy divers, obviously a while ago, not right now, but that is the classic snowflake. That is a beautifully designed watch, and if you look at the old Pelagos and the current Black Bay versus the new Pelagos, the collaboration, or is it the collaboration? The French Navy watch, you can see something that I think is really interesting. And I don't know if pandering to the consumer is the right word. And this isn't Tudor specific, but a lot of brands, I feel like, reinvent certain products and they take away from the base functionality of that product in favor of iterating the product and making it look new, or giving you a new model to choose from. And the reason I'm saying that is because when you look at this watch, the collaboration watch, next to the Black Bay, next to the old Pelagos, I feel like the collaboration just blows them both out of the water, because this watch was built at a purpose. Extra design frills were stripped away, and then extra functionality was added back in. Like, for example, if you look at the Pelagos and the Black Bay versus this watch, look at the bezel. See how much detail is added? There are smaller time indices because it's assumed that people using this, French Navy divers, will actually be using the bezel. And going further into that, you see the case design is a little bit more simple. The bezel is more pronounced and comes out a little bit more. There's crown guards. There are crown guards on the old Pelagos, but they look a little bit more bulky here. And I feel like with this watch, you can see Tudor in the design room designing a watch with like a French Navy guy standing next to him being like, no, make the bezel bigger. And they did. And maybe it's not the craziest design difference, but to me, I just feel like it looks a million times better. And it reminds me of, as these watches become more luxury and stray away from their utilitarian purpose, like solely for the utilitarian purpose, obviously you can use them for that, but as they become more luxurious, they strip down that utilitarian purpose, which kind of pacifies that aggressive design. And really the most noticeable thing is the bezel again. If you look at the knurling on the outside, it's a lot more dramatic than the Black Bay or the Pelagos. But to me, it looks a lot better, and knowing that that knurling is increased so that way you have a better grip on the watch and you could actually turn the bezel easier with gloves on or whatever, also adds, I guess it's to the mental design, but also makes it look a lot cooler. And that's why I said on a while back that if Rolex or Tudor or a lot of these brands just literally said, we're gonna start again from the 40s or the 30s when we were designing, I guess Tudor not in the 30s or 40s, or maybe, but when they said we're just going to start again, we're going to bring back the 9401/0 design and we're just going to remake it. The movement on the inside will be updated, but other than that, the design is going to remain basically the same. I think that would go bananas, because these older designs of watches, I feel like, came from a much more utilitarian viewpoint, and the design obviously was always considered, but that utilitarian viewpoint kind of pushed it more into a functional tool, and that added beauty that you can't add when you're trying to design a watch for the luxury market, because it's just two different things. and it takes it down a step. But with all that being said, I really love this new collaboration. The lugs are actually part of the case. It's almost like a unicase design because obviously spring bars fail more than a solid chunk of steel connected to a case. But I feel like this reminds me of Seiko's Prospex line too, which is going back to their 60s design. I feel like taking notes from their old designs in terms of intentionality with all these brands usually yields to like a cult following product because it's a little bit more daring to make designs a little bit more aggressive and stronger and have that utilitarian feel. But either way, I love this new watch. I still like the Black Bay and the old Pelagos, but this new watch I feel like is hopefully a really cool indication of Tudor making their designs more aggressive and functional and utilitarian, and I can't wait for that. I think that'll be a lot of fun. But anyways, that's about it. I have to go photograph all of these watches. Definitely check out theoandharris.com if you haven't. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and I'll see you next week with Christian, my right-hand man.